What's going on? What's going on to all my embracers? Y'all already know what it is. It's Thursday night. We embrace the grace on here on these YouTube streets. So tonight, it's a good topic. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Grace from Embrace the Grace. It's a good topic. Myself first. And you can find me here every Thursday night on the JVJ network. You can find me on my YouTube channel. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, WhatsApp, and Snapchat. What is this channel about? This channel about having the uncomfortable conversations, the necessary conversations, the ones that nobody wants to have. But we're here and we're talking about it and we're learning and we're growing to become better versions of ourselves. So with that being said, and without further ado, let me introduce my co-host, Gary D. My other co-host is running a little bit late. He'll be here soon. And I just want everybody to know that you're welcome to come up to the panel to participate, to engage. But we will be doing it in a respectful and in a nice way, because we're all adults and you will get booted off. I have moderators now and they know what's going on and they know what needs to get done. So Gary, how are we doing tonight?
I'm good. And yourself? How are you?
I'm good.
Okay. So I'd like to introduce myself to everyone. What's up, everyone? I'm Gary D. I'm one of the co-hosts there for Embrace the Grace. But also, I'm CEO of Boardwalk Global Media, a podcast company. We have a couple of podcasts that we do. You could find us on all the different platforms. And, I'm just happy to support Grace and what she's been doing. Hey, we got a great topic. So pass it back to Grace.
Absolutely, Gary. So what are we talking about tonight, Gary? We're talking about the importance of intimacy in a relationship. So, with that being said, I want to ask you, what is intimacy to you? And do you consider that to be important in your relationships?
Intimacy to me is, uh, I would class it as a deep connection that you have with your partner, um, and it could only grow, right? And I think that in any good stable relationship, you need to have intimacy, and it needs to go both ways. It can't just be one sided. Um, and that's something that I definitely require, right? As I like to say, it's in my
Hmm.
contract, um,
I
because
hear you.
right, because it's if you're building with someone, um, you want to be able to not only connect with them, you want them to connect with you, and genuinely, because some people be faking it out here, and let's be real. So to me, it's I need a partner that I am able to connect with. She's able to connect with me on a number of different levels, right? And I'll just leave it at that.
I hear you. So, in other words, you're saying that it's a deal breaker for you that that's a requirement in your contract, huh?
Yeah, it's a requirement. It's a requirement. I mean, look, like for example, and I know you're going to get into this, but I mean, I enjoy conversation, right? Conversation is part of building intimacy, right? And you get to find out about each other. You get to feel each other's, right? Um, I think that's very important. And if you can't even have conversations with me, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. So yeah, I mean, intimacy is in my contract. It's a requirement. It's non-negotiable.
I I mean, I hear you. Just by being colleagues and being friends with you, I know that communication is important to you. So I can attest to that. So on a whole romantic level, I can only imagine how that's turbo boosted for you. And I got one more question for you.
Go
Do
right
you
ahead.
think that the mind and stimulating the mind is the most important factor in intimacy?
Yeah, I mean, I think. Well, okay, so the best way for me to answer that is I think when it comes to women, as you know, y'all are mental. So, as the old saying goes, and like my granddad used to say, you capture a woman's mind and then her body follows. Um, so so to me, by conversation, you're able to do that, right? You're able to get into the mind, right? And that's I think that that's part of um, the emotional part. Um, that's part of the intelligence part. With me, um, I connect on intelligence, right? So if I could have some, if we could talk about politics, like that's pretty odd, right? Or if we could talk about business, right? That's pretty odd, right? So I can't talk about frivolous things that don't matter, right? I need to talk about things that matter. So to me, if I could do that with a woman, that helps me build closer intimacy to her because I'm like, damn, I'm digging her. Like she wants to talk, but she likes talking about real stuff. Follow what I'm saying? Whereas I think
Mm-hmm.
when you talk to women are more, when you talk to them, are more emotional things, right? Feelings and stuff like that. I think that resonates more with women, right? So that's just my take on that. But as I was saying, with me, if I could have a conversation with a woman and we could talk business, we could talk politics, you know, world events, all that stuff, that to me is fucking hot. Like, yo, you know, you know, you got me thinking. You got me thinking that, hey, I need to buy her a big ass wedding ring.
I know that's right. My guy said that's fucking hot. He likes it. And then that's important to a lot of men because as I've realized as men get older, they didn't have a lot of them are sexed out. It's nothing new to them. It's not a big deal to them. So they need more. Well, and as we get older, as we mature more, as our bodies start changing, there's more because people always think about intimacy is boom, right away. It's about sex, but there's so many components that make up intimacy, Gary. So what is intimacy to me? Intimacy to me is feeling connected with that person. Okay, whether it's physically, emotionally, spiritually. And there's different ways and different types of intimacy that we're going to get into tonight because, ladies and gentlemen, to all my embracers, I know you guys all used to my ways, but to my newcomers, we don't just sit up here and talk our shit. I come here with you guys with information, statistics if necessary, because I want you guys to have a takeaway when you watch my show, because I'm honored enough that you guys are taking the time to be with me, listen to me, but I want you to learn too. I want you to take away something with this that can better you as a person in your relationships, in your life, whatever the case may be. I am trying to make a difference. I'm not just up here demeaning, belittling people. We're really trying to make it. A lot of us content creators are really up here trying to make a difference because it's necessary. And again, and I should make this disclaimer, I am not a licensed therapist. I'm not a licensed psychiatrist. I am just an expert in life and things that I've gone through, things that I've seen people go through. And, I read a lot. I do a lot of research. I've done the work. I'm not 100% healed, but I've gone to therapy, I've gone to counseling, I've gone to support groups, and I've done what's necessary, but I'm still a work in progress. So I'm not, we don't judge over here. We just talk it out. So with that being said, let's get into it. Intimacy. The state of being intimate, which is marked by the consensual sharing of deeply personal information. It has cognitive, affective, and behavioral components. It's a feeling of closeness and connection in an interpersonal relationship. It is an essential part of an intimate relationship, but it also plays an important role in other relationships with friends, family members, and others, and acquaintances. Intimacy allows people to bond with each other on many levels. Therefore, it is a necessary component of healthy relationship. So, Gary, how did I come about of this topic? Well, as you can tell, all of our topics always intertwine with everything. And I was watching a few shows. The main one that I was watching was Cheaters. And the main thing that people answer to the question when the person being cheated on is why? Why did you do it? And it's always the same 100-year-old answer. Well, you weren't there. You didn't talk to me. We stopped having sex. We stopped going out. And it's like, and to my guys out there who are out there, serving their purpose, on their grind, and doing what they got to do to better themselves, I respect that, and I admire that. But at the same time, I gotta say something for my ladies too. You have to water the plant. You have to nourish the relationship. Yeah, you're working 18, 19 hours a day, but you must find balance in life, or something's going to give. And a lot of the times why people are stray is because maybe that other person, and even the other person in the relationship, is not nourishing that relationship. And what happens? Options start to open up. The work wife starts looking better than ever. You know what I'm saying? She starts being a listening ear that the person at home is not being. And oh, how are you, Christopher Vincent? Oh, okay, long time no see. I appreciate you coming in. Don't forget to press the like button. And Christopher said, intimacy is truly necessary, and it is. It is. And I think it should be a standard in a relationship. You know, not everybody, see, that's the thing though, not everybody knows how to be intimate. Not everybody knows, like, maybe what's intimate to me, Gary, may not be intimate to you. So we have to learn each other's ways. Again, it goes back to the show that we did, recognizing our partner's 5, love languages. So you
definitely have to communicate with each other, right? Because clearly everybody, different things, people have different intimacy things that they consider intimate. And I think, you definitely have to have the conversation to find out if that even matches, right? Because that is very, very important. Because you can't have a relationship, you can't have a healthy relationship without intimacy on both sides, right? Where y'all are on the same page with that, where y'all value, not only value each other's intimacy, but y'all are into the same things, right? Right? Where you don't have to, look, nobody wants to, when you're in a relationship with someone, you don't want to twist their arm to get to your side. You understand? You want things to flow. Right? So if she likes, if you're a guy that likes, let's say, her doing all these sexy things, and she likes doing it, that's a perfect match, right? Because there's some women that aren't like that. Some guys, they may want a woman that does sexy things, and the woman, she's like, well, I don't really want to do that. Maybe I'll do it on your birthday or special occasions. That's not really going to work. You follow me? Right? So,
yeah, I follow you, and that goes.
So you definitely have to
finish your thought.
Yeah. So you definitely have to have the conversation to find out what intimacy levels work for the both of you.
And again, Gary, that goes to the show that we did, Where Are You Sexual Compatible? Again, all these shows flow with each other for a reason. You have to be sexual compatible with that person. You can't have a person with a high libido and a person that's okay with having sex just once a month. Something's going to give there sooner or later. But if you fulfill other aspects of intimacy, then maybe that can make up for it. Maybe you're in a long distance relationship and you can't have physical intimacy every night, but you can have other forms of intimacy. And Gary, this is perfect. It goes into what I'm going into right now. Forms of intimacy. And again, I know when most people hear the word intimacy, they jump to think right away about physical intimacy, sex, sexual intercourse. But there are other forms of intimacy just as important, especially when it comes to romantic relationships. And also, I got to give a shout out to verywellmind.com. This is where I get most of my information. They're a wonderful site. So if you guys want to go check them out, you could see that I get a lot of my info there. Again, it's called verywellmind.com. This is my reference. So I got to give them a shout out. So let's talk about the first form of intimacy, Gary. Physical. We're going to go into the obvious one. Physical intimacy, hugging, holding hands, are both examples of physical intimacy. This type is the most commonly used to reference sex. And while sex is very important in relationships, one can demonstrate physical intimacy through kissing, holding hands, cuddling, skin to skin touching. With these small physical shows of affection may seem trivial, but they can help you and your partner cultivate a feeling of closeness. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, look, you don't want to be with a partner that if you touch them, they or they have an issue with you touching them or holding hands. And look, I've heard this before. I've had friends that were in those type of relationships. Oh well, she doesn't like to hold hands, or she doesn't like to hold hands, or she doesn't like me to kiss her. Like so if you can't be affectionate with your partner and touching them in a loving way or a caring way, then it clearly it's not going to work. But then let me just say this, and I think we could get to this maybe on another show. Um, a lot of people have trauma, and I think we did a show on trauma. So, and a lot of people are unhealed, right? So they can't even begin to have intimacy with somebody else. But I know that's a whole nother conversation.
No, but you're right. It is not the fault of the other person that particular person went through a lot of trauma. And I always say this, and I know we sound like broken records, Gary, but it is not the responsibility. Okay, Gary, you and me in a relationship. It is not your responsibility to fix me. Okay, it is my responsibility to hold that baggage and deal with that baggage. Now, you can help me unfold it and put it up, but at the end of the day, it's my responsibility. And that's what I think happens a lot. Hurt people. And then you could run into a healed person and you're still hurt. And now you're bringing your toxicity and your shenanigans to them. And that's not fair. Again, we can help you unpack, we can help you fold it, put it away, but at the end of the day, you have to put in the work. And there's a lot of people out there that have trauma that may not even realize they have trauma, and then always turn around and blame the other person why things didn't go well, or the other person says, you're not there for me. A lot of us don't know how to be there for traumatized people because we're not licensed. We're not qualified. Again, we can only help so much. You know what I'm saying? It's like if you're with an alcoholic, I'll drive you to the AA meetings. I'll go have a drink while you're at the meeting. No, let me stop. But you know what I'm saying? You can participate. You can help. But it's not our responsibility. It's just an old saying. We're not responsible for your happiness. You're responsible for your own pursuit of happiness.
Also, I think there's another angle where we need to look at this too. Is that as we're talking about people who have trauma and they're unhealed, there's a segment of those people that they have it so bad that they want to stay that way because that's all they know, right? Think about this. That's all they know. So to become unhealed and be normal, that's completely foreign. And when you think about what's out there now, you're going to be like, well, there's a lot of fucking there's a lot of people that are unhealed out there that don't want to heal because that's all they know. How crazy is that?
And if you tried to talk to them, they quick to say, oh, now you're going to do a Dr. Phil on me, or you think you know it all. It's like, it's not, sometimes you got to look at where the source is coming, where the information is coming from. If it's somebody that cares about you and has good intentions, wouldn't it behoove you to at least try to listen. Again, me and Gary are not perfect, and all my embracers are not perfect. But a lot of times, if we're on the outside looking in and we can see things and we sit you down in a respectful way and talk to you, be open to it, especially if you value what that other person says. But you're right, a lot of people don't know any better. They think that it's normal. They grew up in a chaotic environment. They grew up like, let's, for example, and this is going to be a whole nother show, the battered woman syndrome. They think, oh, if he beats me, he loves me. But that's all they know. That's all they grew up seeing. So they think that that's the norm. And they don't know how to get out of it. But then if I'm your best friend and I'm telling you, Jennifer, this is not normal. A man shouldn't put his hands on a woman. She's trying to talk to you and you just don't want to listen. I mean, what do you do with somebody like that then? How do you deal with them?
Yeah. It's I think that, if you really care for someone, they're a close friend, family, relative, or what have you, and you could only give them the best advice. And me, like, I care, but I care to a point. Right? Because anybody that knows me can say, you can't say I didn't tell you. Because if I took the time to sit you down and explain to you, hey, such and such, X, Y, and Z, if I took that time to sit down and explain to you, and you still don't want to listen, go do what you're going to stand. To me, my conscience is clear after I sit you down and talk to you. Plain, I'm not going to listen.
You're right. I mean, you're absolutely right. You can only do so much. You can only lead to the horse to the water so many times. And salute Wally, and he says, shaking my head, toxic reflection by the ways of the parents is a deadly image to their children.
Absolutely.
You're absolutely right, because kids learn from what they see, from what they hear, and positive vibes in the house. How you doing, Ms. Lena? And she has something to say. Hold on, let me put it up there. He said, beat my ass so I know it's real. I mean, it's funny and it's not funny, but there's a lot of people out there. I mean, some men take that too. Some men put up with that when their women put their hands on them and things like that. Why? Because they saw that growing up. So it's not just women, but it's also men. So moving on to the second form of intimacy, we have emotional intimacy. Can be one of the most critical factors of a relationship. It is characterized by being able to share your deepest and most personal feelings with another person. When people experience this type of intimacy, they feel safe and secure enough to share and know that they will be understood, affirmed, and cared for. Examples of this: having conversations about what you both want in the future, talking about things that you are worried about, talking and discussing a stressful event at work or what's going on in the family, and just being comforted. Sometimes we just want to be listened to. You don't always have to come up with a solution for that person. And I know it's hard for you men, because y'all are wired to fix things. You don't want to hear all that extra yippity yap. Just get to the meat of the sandwich. Tell me what the problem is. And by the time I'm done with my sentence, you guys are already trying to come up with a solution. But sometimes we just want you guys to listen. That's it. And vice versa. But let me tell you something, ladies. You're not going to get this type of intimacy with your man if you are the kind of woman to bring up shit in anger when that man has been vulnerable to you and opened up to you and then you use it against him. I talk to a lot of men. I get their feedback, and they shut down with a lot of us because they don't feel safe. We don't make that secure environment for them. And it only takes one time. It only takes one time for a woman to bring up something so personal that a man told you in a moment of vulnerability, and he will never open up to you again. He will rather tell his work wife. And then you want to go around being, yeah, I keep bringing that up because that happens a lot. I've seen it happen.
It's very true. It's very
and then
true.
You sit there and wonder. You sit there and wonder, well, what happened?
Yeah, it is
exactly. Yeah, it
is very true. Let me just say, like, on your point there, I kind of like to say they got half of one time to do that shit, and I'm done.
Damn. Wow. Y'all ladies, y'all hear that? Y'all hear that? It only takes a half of time of a woman to bring up something that Gary opened up and was vulnerable for you to bring it up in his face again. That's not cool. You know, Gary, I look at it as this. When a man opens up to me and tells me things that I know he doesn't just tell anybody, I actually look at it, I feel honored. Because that lets me know that man felt safe and secure to share his dark secrets or his pain that he's been through. And I would never, I can't say I never have done it before, but I'm very mindful of that. I haven't done it in years. I mean, because once you go through the therapy and you realize just how detrimental that is to a person, especially a man, you learn not to do it anymore. So I changed my mindset. I look at it as it's something of an honor that man, you know, was felt free enough to open up. Let me get Lena up here. She's knocking on the door. Don't forget to press the like button, guys. Subscribe and share. And let me read Wally's comment, Lena, and then you can go ahead and chime in. Let me go ahead and show it. Give me just a second. It should be popping up. Oh, it says here. Give me one moment. It says here, so all you want us to do is listen. What if he said he's listening, but really all that's happening is words going in one ear and out the other? Now, Wally, I didn't say that's all I want you guys to do is listen. Sometimes we want you guys to listen. We don't need a solution all the time because sometimes we have our own solution. Sometimes we just want you to listen. And you're right. There are some people that it goes one ear and out the other, but then all that's telling me is that you don't really give a shit about that person. You know what I'm saying? So, Lena, how you doing tonight, baby girl?
Hello, Grace. How are you doing? Okay. Hello, Grace, our beautiful host.
I'm good, beautiful. How you doing?
Pretty good, and thank you. Hi, Gary. How you doing?
Hey, what's up? What's up?
Not too much. I think this is deep when you talked about emotional intimacy. And looking back, I had the problem is going to open up some wounds with my ex. I never had to date someone where I had to tiptoe what I would say. Everything was an ammo, and everything I said could be a weapon to him unknowing. Like, I literally was sleeping in the bed with him. We would sleep. And I had a nightmare about my baby, the father of my child. And I was fighting in my sleep about picking up the kid. And he literally got mad and said, yeah, you still want that nigga. I'm like, what? I'm getting beat up in the dream. How? Sorry, since it was so absurd, I was me. I was like, well, you should have came in dream to save me. I was getting beat up. Where were you? That's how I started to get mad because
right?
I was laughing at it, right? And I was like, I was in the nightmare. I was like, we gonna pick up Brooklyn, pick up the baby, and blah blah. It's like, no, I ain't got. I remember just fighting and shaking my head, and I get a tap. He's like, yeah, you dreaming about that nigga. I'm like, oh my god, that literally caused a fight. But everything I had to do, I had to tiptoe.
That's crazy.
Yes. Everything I say could be ammo sharing.
Now, what
Like, huh?
wasn't that draining to you? Wasn't that? I mean, I couldn't even imagine myself having to tiptoe around a person that I'm supposed to be with, and have to think about my words all the time because they're so sensitive. I
Mhm.
got my boy Wally knocking on the door. I know he got something to say because he don't show up too much, but when he show up, he got something to say.
Hey, what's up, Wally
How you
Wally?
doing, Wally?
Um, I, but another thing I noticed too, like I'm torn between
What's
was
going
he an
on?
alcoholic or a narcissist or both. I can't determine because with the alcoholism, I can see he's unbearable with alcohol. Sometimes he can be very mean, loud. I have to babysit. Outside of the alcohol, he could be very manipulative. He can plan and like he punished me in little ways, stuff I say or do. Like to me, I felt like I was living for his approval and to avoid a fight.
Okay, so Wally, before you chime in, let me read Death Note's. Welcome, Death Note. Thank you for coming. I appreciate your support to the JVJ network and to Embrace the Grace. He said, if you
Hey,
don't want
what's up?
assistance, don't constantly talk about your problems and not solutions. Men are supposed to build and resolve problems. Don't handicap and expect a man to carry your weight. I never said that, Death Note. I just said that sometimes. We skipped over the operative word. Sometimes we don't want solutions. We just want a listening ear. That's it. We expect our men to fix our problems because that's how you guys are wired. But all I'm trying to say, and I'm not trying to handicap or expect a man to carry my weight, but you have to sometimes compromise. If I just need you to listen, I might have a solution already. I might just need your opinion on my solution. But it's not every time, Death Note. Sometimes we just need a listening ear. That's all I was trying to say about that. So, Wally, what you got to say? I know you got to say
Well,
something.
yeah. Well,
What's
yeah.
up?
There's a reason. Well, to my comment, which basically you just alluded to, right? So you were just saying, okay, so you basically said you already have your solution, but you're looking for an opinion amongst your own solution. But that's my whole point. Because if you're literally talking about a situation that you're having, whatever it may be, and I'm listening, which you're looking for a conversation amongst that, then again, isn't that still in some sense of solving something or giving an aid to your quote unquote situation? So it's basically still saying the same thing.
I mean,
So,
again, sometimes maybe I had an issue and I already resolved it, and I'm just coming to you to talk to you about it.
well,
You know, it's not all the time.
I think that I think it goes back to being able is how we communicate, right? So, and I think that for your lady to come to you and say, "Well, look, I have something going on. I just need you to listen." That really doesn't happen a whole lot, right? So, and I think that the way things are framed, and unfortunately, in a lot of these conversations that happen, it's not framed in the way that it should be or it needs to be. Um, because if you're going to ask your partner, well, look, here's because men, yes, we naturally want to fix something, absolutely. But if you come to me and say, look, Gary, I'm dealing with something, but I just want you to listen, just hear me out, right? I could do that. Like to me, that makes sense, right? Right. But if you're gonna come on some other stuff and just say, well, look, I got this going on, and you just start talking, then it's gonna be like, wait, um, then I'm gonna come up with something to fix the problem, or why are you not fixing the problem? So again, it's how it's framed, right? And I don't think that so being able to communicate effectively, I think that's where a lot of couples fall short.
Well, I'm gonna let her say Death Note's statement. Then after that, I'm gonna make a comment. You're muted.
Go ahead, Wally. Finish your thought.
Oh wow! Go ahead.
Oh, no, because on that note, okay, so okay, I can see what you're saying now as far as saying that. Okay, so basically what you're saying is, okay, you basically chose to go through a situation, you didn't say anything, and then of course you worked it out on your own, and then of course you just letting it be known. Okay, if you're ever wondering such and such, if you're wondering like if there's something going on with me, but I haven't said anything, well, this is the reason why. Okay, fine, I can see that, but sometimes those things are never ultimately clear because, like, I mean, I guess everyone doesn't really want to say what they're going through. You're muted,
Well,
Gary. You're muted, Gary.
like I said, how it's framed, they don't frame it like that.
Well, no, I understand that, but that's what I'm saying. 'Cause, like, from where where Grace was trying to say it, that's why I'm like, where exactly are you coming with it? When she had said what she said, okay, I'm like, all right, I can see that part because not everyone's gonna ultimately just put out what they're going through ASAP. Sometimes it may be after the fact. So.
Let me just chime in real quick, and let me give you a perfect example. There are sometimes things that I go through that I don't come to my guy about right away because I know he expects me to deal with it a grown up, big girl kind of way. And sometimes I don't, you know what I'm saying? So I don't want to come to him when I'm in a very emotional status because he don't play that. You know what I'm saying? He's like, you're 40 something years old, So I know how to, like Gary said, I know how to frame things to my guy because I know how he's going to react to it. And in Death Note, I'm going to read his comment. He said, no one wrote the phrase every time. I was quite clear. You can talk about a problem, but bring a solution if you don't want a solution. If you just want someone to listen, don't expect them to care. I mean, that to me, that's kind of harsh. Sometimes we just want a person to listen, and just to listen, that means you don't care. Again, not every time we want a solution. And now Gary added another layer. You're right. A lot of us women, well, let's not just put it on the women. A lot of us people do not know how to effectively communicate. I'll be like, Gary, I just want you to listen, but this is what happened. Okay, so I guess Gary now knows. He's just got his listening ears on. But if I come to Gary and I be like, Gary, I have an issue and I need your help with this. Okay, now he knows he's got his listening ears on, and now his brain is going 1,000 miles an hour trying to listen and trying to come up with a solution. Because you guys are listening, but you're already coming up with a solution while you're trying to listen. So sometimes we just need you to listen. That's it. That's all I was saying, Death Note. And if a person, if you just want somebody to listen and don't expect them to care, so a person that just listens doesn't necessarily care. There's been a lot of times that Gary just sits there and listens to me rant or go whatever, and he'll just listen. And then he'll be like, okay, my guy, when I talk to him, after I go on my rant, he'll be like, are you done? And then if I say, yeah, I'm done, then he'll speak. And then that's when I know to be quiet and listen. But
I missed something.
I don't know. And Gary's right. It's all a way on how a couple communicates and how you effectively communicate. Because, Lena, I couldn't be in a relationship with a man that you have to walk on eggshells around him and you have to worry about every word that you say if he's going to snap. That's draining. That's draining.
I didn't really want to be around him at a lot of times. I felt like, I better just not tell him. Let me tell his girl. And it caused problems like, I did some like keeping stuff from him. And I understand it, but I was scared he was going to judge me. Like intimacy, like with myself, like what I was doing and stuff. He had a problem with, and I was held it, and he really snapped off. Like I was like, oh my god, but I was scared you was gonna judge me. So like I need to keep stuff to
That's crazy.
myself.
Yeah.
Yes. But I was listening. I wasn't for sure that I understand what you were saying. You said my guy, then you said Gary and intimacy. All right, am I missing something?
Well,
No.
when I say my guy, the guy that I'm dating.
Oh, okay, not Gary. I was like,
And,
okay.
and then I separated with Gary too.
Oh, okay. I was like, oh, am I missing?
Definitely. No.
Oh, okay. I was missing something when you said that. I was like,
oh, there you go. And then Death Note came back saying, listening means doesn't mean we have to care about your issue the way you do. Let's use a little logic here. Death Note, I'm gonna be honest with you. You coming off as very combative and very cold. I mean, if you don't care about the issues, then you don't care about the person. Then why even bother? I mean, I don't get it.
I can understand. I guess you can be clear. Like I can understand. Like I want you to hear what I'm saying, and I want you like to feel my pain, or like you really want to be consoled, or you want some type of emotional feedback. Like like you listening. Oh, I'm so sorry that happened to you. Or you did good, or something. That's what I tell. And I know it could be like irritating. Like I see Death Note's response, and I think of not my ex, but my baby daddy. Like in the beginning, I was horrible. I used to be a whiner. Oh God, I used to whine all the time, but I gotten better, way better than I used to be. That was in my 20s, and I would whine and like almost be in tears over little stuff. But I've gotten way better than I used to. He was like, "Oh my God, I wish your grandpa was alive," because I would tell him you just handicapped her, allowing her to whine. He was like, "Who allowed you to whine?" My grandfather did. He let me, whine, do whatever. And so it carried on into my relationships, and I realized I was wrong. Like I could communicate without whining. So that could be annoying depending how you communicating your feelings, and like, do they really want to listen to whine? Like I got to listen to you whine, but I can't help you. So I'm just suffering. You're punishing me. So I understand kind of his comment, because I was that person. I was definitely that girl with the father of my child.
Right. So can I bring in something?
I hear you. Wally, you have something to say?
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
from Death Note's standpoint, right? Real quick. So let's say we're looking at the word listening, right? Because I think this goes a little bit more so back to what Gary's saying with as far as the communication, because it also determines on word choice. You're asking for listen, but I think we should be using a different word when we're asking somebody to hear our issues. Because on listen, right, it would say take notice of and act on what someone says, response to advice or a request, right? Then that's someone in a sense of action.
Okay.
But if you're talking about confide, that's tell someone about a secret or private matter while trusting them not to repeat it to others. I think you're morally explaining more so confide in more than listen, because that would morally make sense to what you're saying. Which also brings back to the point of what Gary's saying about communication. Okay. Choosing the right word.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing with Death Note. I just need him to understand that people view intimacy differently. We all perceive and receive things differently. And Lena, I'm laughing at you because I'm laughing at you because I've been accused of being a whiner too sometimes, and he'll be like, "Oh, so is this a time to bring out the Huggies, the pacifier, and the bib?" You know what I'm saying? And that right there will check me right away. I'm like, "Oh shit." So it's just a matter of how you move with your person, how you communicate with your person. But you know what I'm saying? And Death Note gave an example, which, okay, here we go. So he said, let it show, give it just a minute. It says, example, if you are telling me your baby daddy had to be hospitalized, you also expected to pull on my heartstrings and care as you do. It's not combative, it's clarity. Well, that's different. I mean, definitely, I would expect you not to give a shit about my baby daddy. You know what I'm saying? But you would at least want to give a shit as he's another human being. I mean, some type of compassion, but I wouldn't expect you to be up there, you know, at the hospital. I wouldn't expect you to do that. Absolutely. I totally agree with you. But let's move on to the third form of intimacy. It's called intellectual intimacy. Involves being able to share ideas, opinions, questions, and other thoughts with another person. You might not agree on everything, but you enjoy challenging each other and are able to consider the other person's perspective. For example, talking about a book you have read and comparing reactions is an example of intellectual intimacy in a relationship. Let me give you another example. Me and my guy are constantly sending each other videos and things, and we would exchange ideas on them, or we would send each other scriptures to read in the Bible and to compare and contrast our perception of what we have read. So these are moments of intimacy that I share with him. And it's not always about physical intimacy. There's so many other different aspects that we need to do. And certain people react more to certain intimacy. But at the end of the day, intimacy is important in a relationship. Let's move on to the next form of intimacy. It's called experimental intimacy. Couples don't have to be joined at the hip. However, sharing experiences are important in healthy relationships. They are also often the way that relationships begin. Spending time together and participating in hobbies together are just a few ways that people can deepen this type of intimacy. I mean, people have to learn what we like. Like, I am a total sports chick. I will not be able to date a guy that's not into sports, because I'm there every Sunday. I'm there every Saturday watching college football, baseball season. I mean, if he's not, he can be into sports a little bit, but to stop me from going to games, to stop me from not watching ESPN, like, I got the game on right now. See, that's where now it's you're not compatible. Because what's fun to me is going to be boring to you. And the same thing, ladies. I was talking to one of my good friends last night, and we were talking about he loves going fishing, but his girl didn't like going fishing. But the thing is, sometimes we have to sacrifice, and we have to, and like Gary said, your arms shouldn't be pulled. If he wants to wake up at 4 a.m. and go fishing on a Saturday and he invited you, the graceful thing to do is be like, okay, I'll go. Because you would expect him to do the same thing when you want to go see a chick flick, or you want to go to the opera, something that you know he's not into, but you want to experience that with your man. That's another form of intimacy, doing things together, having fun together. That shouldn't just be at the beginning of a relationship. That should be throughout the relationship. That's why they say when you cannot stop dating each other, even when you're married. You have to go on date nights. You have to fuck the kids. You have to leave them home sometimes. And you have to be intimate with your partner. Put in that time. Nourish that relationship. What you got to say, Gary?
So, what was the? I know you were talking about the other one with the other part of intimacy, right? Did you?
Yeah, the experimental one, doing things together. You know, even though you don't agree with it, like you brought up the one that you like a woman to dress up sexy. You shouldn't have to pull her arm to do that.
Well, I mean, I think, yeah, I mean, the experimental form of intimacy is doing things that I don't want to say that you don't like, but I mean, but again, it goes back to, the conversation and communicating with each other, right? Because when you're communicating with each other, you're getting an idea of, okay, what this person's into, what that person's into, or I should say, what the both of y'all are into. And if there's things that y'all want to mutually explore together or experiment together, then that completely works, right? Because you've talked about it, right? So I think that it shouldn't be something where somebody, comes up with something, hey, let's do this, and or I shouldn't say but you don't know how your partner feels about this, right? But you say, hey, let's go and do this, and then you find out that your partner's not into it. Like, I don't agree with stuff like that. I think that, and I know it may sound corny, but when you communicate, right, and you talk with your partner about different things, right, you would kind of have an idea of what y'all are mutually into, what y'all mutually want to explore, and stuff like that. And then to me, that works so much better, right? Because you already know or you have an idea of, okay, she's going to like this or he's going to like that, right? You already know. So it's not something coming out of left field, right? Now, if the experimental is, okay, I want to surprise him with this, or I want to surprise her with this, right? Then it's already knowing what they like. You follow me? Or what they are looking to maybe explore, right? You don't just pull it out of thin air and you don't know how you feel about it. So again, it goes back to effectively communicating with each other to see where they're at, to see where y'all are at. So that's my take on that.
Absolutely. And PA Texas Worldwide said, what up, y'all? I came to drop a like. Keep doing what you do. And then I want to put what Death Note said. So I can listen, but not care the way you do. Thank you for agreeing. Absolutely, boss. I mean, yeah, you don't have to care, but just listen. You know what I'm saying? You can even pretend that you're listening just to make us feel better. But one thing that I've learned that a lot of us are guilty of, especially women, we lose our individuality when we become in a relationship. Yes, it says we must become one. Absolutely. However, that doesn't mean that I got to lose my identity and who I am as an individual because I'm with somebody. If this is the person that I was before coming into the relationship, I should be coming out better. Not being lost in the sauce, only doing what you want to do every weekend. It does. And again, these are things that start creeping up in a relationship. And now we talking to the work wife and the work hubby. We hanging out with our boys more. You don't even want to be around the chick. You got to sit 20 minutes in front of the house to decompress because you got to put up, I mean, we have to be mindful of each other. Wally said, Wally, I did say, Wally just said, did she just say fuck them kids? Yeah. Because a lot of us parents, we pour so much into our children that we forget about our other half. Because once them kids leave at 18, that's all you got left. Now, it is your better half. So what now? You think you're gonna be able to pick up where you left off after 18 years? By then it may be too late. You gotta tell them kids, no, y'all staying home tonight. Mom and dad going to the movies tonight. It's not always about the kids, because at the end of the day, those kids are gonna grow up, they're gonna make a life of their own, and they're gonna be like, man, fuck mom and dad. You know what I'm saying? Or they're only gonna call you when they want something or need something. But at the end of the day, it's your spouse and your better half that's there looking at you every morning, every night. And so that's how I meant. That's how I meant it, Wally. I mean, I know it's kind of a messed up statement, but we got to think that way sometimes. We really do. We
And we
cannot
also
pour so much into our kids that we forget our better half, and that's not right either.
see you're. Let me
What
let
were
me
you going to
say
say,
this.
Gary?
Let me say this here. I think also in regards to intimacy when you're in a relationship, I think people forget that your partner is your safe space, right? Your partner is your home, right? Your home
Hmm.
in person, right? Um, and if you're not feeling like that, then that's clearly not the person for you, right? Because if you're not feeling safe, if you're not feeling content, if you're not feeling that this person is home, then that's probably not the person for you, because you shouldn't have to constantly fight, argue. Not saying that every relationship is perfect, because all relationship has their their up and down flaws. But if you're not feeling that, okay, this is my person, this is my, he's my safe space, she's my safe space, she's my home, he's my home, and you know that when you talk to them, that they feel that way, you feel that way, um, that makes a world of a difference. But that's not the type of relationship that's happening nowadays.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And but that's why we're here, Gary, to try to change the mindset and open the eyes of those that are closed.
You know,
And hopefully we can change somebody's mindset.
I can't for the life of
Well,
me think of, if I'm dating a woman and I'm laying in bed next to her, and I gotta and I am and my mind has to be going, is she faithful? Is she doing shit behind my back? Like all the bullshit that goes with that. Like, is to me that is so crazy. So for me, the woman laying next to me at night, I have to know and feel she's my safe space. She's my home. I'm content. She's not gonna stab me in the back. She's not gonna betray me. Right? I gotta feel like that.
absolutely, and you have every right. What are you going to be doing? Sleeping with the enemy? Sleeping with
This
one eye open? Let me give you a perfect example. Me and Gary have been friends for a minute, but we just met in person in June when I went to New York. We've never been out. We've just been talking on the phone, texting, whatever, working together. But because he knows me and got a feel for me, he knew exactly the restaurant to take me to when we met up to have a business meeting and to go out with. That's listening to somebody. That's taking that person into consideration. Remember, Gary, when we went to that first place we had dinner at? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
it was awesome.
yeah,
He
yeah,
knew
yeah.
exactly what I liked,
so Gary was the one that took
but
you
that
out?
just came from conversation. Oh my God, Lena, would you stop? Lena, I went to New York and I and I met Gary in person. Yes, we went out to dinner. What were we going to talk on a park bench? So you talk over a meal. You go over business things. But but my point of what I was trying to say that is because he's gotten to know me and we've talked so much, he knew exactly what to pick out. Oh, I got a spot. Let's go. I said, okay. I trust him enough to be like, okay, let's go. Hopped on the train. Boom, boom, boom. And it was a perfect play. It wasn't crowded. It wasn't loud. We were able to lay out on the table everything we had to talk about. I mean, because intimacy can happen with friendships too. You guys always hear me
I
bring up
bet.
my male best friend of 24 years. I mean, we've been best friends for 24 years, and he knows me like the
Mhm.
back of my hand. And
I got a
sometimes I
baby
don't
by
even
my
have to
friend.
say anything.
I do.
Lena, you really trying to start off something right now? No, Lena. 24 years, and we've
Wonder,
never
Gary,
crossed
if
that
you
line.
went to a jewelry store, would you know what type of jewelry she like? Like, is in like an engagement ring or something? Oh wow, he's
God.
oh,
You see, Lena?
I digress. My mic is muted.
Hey, let's stay on
Yeah,
topic.
okay.
Let's stay on topic.
All right.
What type of pseudo sujitsu
Yes,
shotgun
exactly.
question you trying to ask?
Right? So anyway,
Let's-
the next form of intimacy is spiritual intimacy. While this can be referring to religious ideas and beliefs, it can also mean something more profound, like sharing actual beliefs and values. Your values and beliefs can align with religion and even health and wellness. Regardless, it's important to share these critical aspects of your life with your partner. For example, spiritual intimacy include participating in religious practices, going to church together, discussing spiritual topics. I told you that me and my guy, we exchange scriptures. He'll be like, I want you to read this and come back and tell me your perspective on it. You know, that's a form of intimacy. People are so quick to jump on the fact that it's always physical. There are other aspects and components into a relationship that has to be nourished and watered. The grass is not greener on this other side. The grass is greener is where you water it. A lot of people, they think it's better over there.
Well, some people, they don't know how to water, right? They don't know how to water what's on their side. But when it comes to spiritual intimacy, it's definitely important to have someone where your values are aligned. Morals, ethics, all of those things. If y'all are religious, whatever that religious denomination is, if y'all share that, I think that's also fine. If y'all have that same deep faith. Also, too, I mean, I think that in general, at least for me, a spiritually grounded woman, like that is a requirement for me. Spiritually grounded doesn't necessarily mean being religious, because to me, and in my experience, being religious and being spiritual is two different things, right? And I think when you have a woman that's spiritually grounded, that definitely goes a long way, because she really looks out for you when she's spiritually grounded, right? And I think that a lot of these guys miss that, and there's some women that don't even care to be that way, right? So, I just wanted to chime in with that point there.
Okay. I mean, to me, it's important. Like, one of my requirements is you have to be a God-fearing man. You have to believe in God. So in other words, it wouldn't work if I dated an atheist. So it's got to make sense, guys. It really does. So let's talk about now, guys, the obstacles to intimacy. Look, every relationship has its ups and downs. It's not always going to be a bowl of cherries. You have your up and downs, you have your rough patches, you have your dry spells, however you want to frame it. But sometimes certain obstacles can make intimacy difficulty, or previously strong sense of intimacy might gradually start fading away without proper nourishment. If you don't eat right, you're going to get sick, right? So look at it the same way in a relationship. If you don't feed that relationship right, it's going to wither. It's going to start getting sick. And what's going to happen? That work wife is going to kick in, and she's going to start cooking for him. She's going to give him the listening ear, and vice versa, because I'm not just keying in. You guys have seen it and known it and have been through it. And again, I'm not taking away nothing from my high value men, my guys that are on their purpose, my guys that are grinding and making money. you know. But at the same time, you can't expect your marriage to work if you out there working 20 hours a week every day and not putting some attention into the children and into your marriage. It's not gonna work. You gotta find balance. You gotta find balance between work and a quality of life. But we just get so caught up, and we got to get the house, we got to get the cars, we got to get materialistic things, we got to do this, we got to do that. You know, one thing I learned by growing up with my parents, I know my dad loved me. I know he did. And he gave me everything I would ever want for in my life. But the one thing that he couldn't give me was time. Every time I looked up at the bleachers at my games, he was never there. I had the freshest Jordans on. I had Jordans for my away games. I had Jordans for my home games. I had the Jordan sweatsuit. I was Jordaned out. But he wasn't there. You got to create memories in your relationship. You got to have those moments. That's all I'm trying to say. But let's look at some of the obstacles that happens with intimacy. Okay, some of the problems that can impair intimacy include: 1, conflict. It's very hard and challenging to feel intimate when you're always arguing with the other person. In Lena's case, walking around fucking eggshells. Feeling resentment, anger, or lack of trust can make it more challenging to feel connected and close to that person. Lena didn't feel close to her ex because she was always worried about when she was going to say the right thing. I mean, come on now. Stress. Stress is another obstacle that can cause a lack of intimacy in a relationship. Stress caused by life, work, illness, finances, children, family members, friends, social media, and other issues can chip away at a couple's intimacy. Here's Gary's favorite one: communication problems. It's hard to feel close and connected to someone when you struggle to articulate your feelings and needs. Talking to your partner and listening to what they have to say is essential for building and maintaining intimacy. And I always add that little extra word, Gary. You talk about communication, but you got to have effective communication. Because the way me and Wally talk and understand each other may be totally different how me and Gary talk. We both up from up top. So I may say things to him and he may be totally perceive it a totally different way, where Wally may, you know what I'm saying? Or Death Note may look at it a different way. We got to be able to communicate, and not only that, communicate it effectively. Here's another one that Gary brought up: the fear of intimacy, or not knowing how to be intimate. Sometimes people experience a fear of intimacy, often caused by past experiences and trauma that make it difficult to form meaningful connections with other people. Go ahead,
Yes.
Nina.
I mean,
Yes, because of my ex, I am just like that. I be so scared. My ex is so crazy in bed. Like, when I get a new man or talk to somebody, everybody side eye me like, "Oh Lord, I hope he's not like so and so." They like scared, like, because the last one I brought was crazy as hell, and I just, it does make me fearful to open up. I'm scared to tell people, that I'm talking to, like, stuff about me. Like, I tell you guys some stuff, but, like, I don't tell, like, complete everything that could destroy me. Like, and just opening up to someone, I think I'm still traumatized. Like, this could be used as a weapon later on against me. And my ex, like, to let you know how crazy he was, is sick. I kid you not. This is some crazy shit that I didn't even think of. I was like, dude, did I really date? I would literally, like, FaceTime him at work sometimes, and I would fall asleep. And he used to always take pictures of me. When we were breaking up, he threatened that he was going to take those pictures and tell my job I'm falling asleep at work, because you can see the background and where I'm at.
Wow.
I was like, what?
Wow.
this is,
Well, Lena,
I
we
didn't
know
even
you
think
good
of
for
that.
falling asleep, because you didn't fell asleep on my show before, and that shit was funny as Gary. I don't think you was here that night, but Lena was talking just like she was, and not even 3 minutes later, we hear her snoring, like in a deep REM sleep. I'm like, wow, she must be really tired.
Yeah, nice.
But
Good boy.
Let me just say
it's
something.
okay. I didn't take it personal. Go ahead, Gary.
Yeah. To add to Lena's point there, actually, I know. See, I've always said, what type of man is some of these women dating? And the reason why that I've said that is that I I have two friends of mine that years ago, when Facebook did all these adult groups, they were in the adult groups and they posted adult pictures. And their boyfriends, their boyfriends was in on it and did the whole thing. And one of them and their boyfriend broke up, right? The boyfriend got vindictive and posted their personal sexual pictures on Tumblr and on Pornhub. So to me, it's like, wait a minute, like what kind of, so if you're going to be this
Crazy.
person, or if you're dating this guy and y'all having sexual intercourse and this is supposed to be your boyfriend, like you're supposed to have somebody like to you're supposed to know and feel that you could trust him. But unfortunately, you get some of these guys that are like, they're vindictive. Like if they can't get their way, oh well, we did these sexual pictures, so now that I can't have you, I'm gonna go black, I'm gonna go do this kind of stuff and put it out there. So that's kind of in line to what Lena was saying, that had with what her ex did. I'm like, yo, like, but I also want to say a lot of people, and I've said this before on the show, a lot of people are wired very differently, right? Because I would never think to, oh well, you fall asleep on the show, I'm going to take a picture, and because because you fall asleep, I'm going to show it to your job because we maybe broke up or something like that. Like that to me register, right? That doesn't make sense to me. Like, why am I going to do that, right? I'm not wired like that.
Like, I
That's
know, I've
crazy.
actually been through that with him too. Like, my pictures were, I'm gonna dispose, and he wanted to give them to my enemies. He was something else, and he get drunk and do that because I wouldn't come back to him. But
See?
it was, I had
See?
to look for ways, because this is why I know the law, because I threatened him. I said it because I was thinking, oh, let me just go ahead and put his pics out. My face is all in my pics, and his is too. But he was saying, I was telling him, I looked it up. It's a $10,000 fine. You could sue someone if they put out
Is
your
it a
intimate pictures.
misdemeanor?
Yeah.
I can't remember if it's a misdemeanor. I just knew it was 10,000. My best friend and my other friend, male friend, he was like, "Don't worry, if he's gonna do it anyway. If he's gonna do it, have a different reaction, blow your mind, be like, oh, it must be good if he still got it, and then get the $10,000."
I mean, this is what the world that we live in has come to. And that's why it's you have to be careful who you send nudes to. I mean, they say it's good and it's stimulating and it's a part of intimacy, but you got to worry about the aftermath. You know what I'm saying? And it's sad. It's sad that it goes that far. That if I send you a tit pic, you might use that against me later.
Right. In the future, I just realized to make sure if I'm going to do that now, I will just make sure my face isn't in it. Like, if I'm with another man, a boyfriend or whatever, I wouldn't, I'll make sure my face isn't in it. So if we do come, I'd be like, I don't know what you're talking about. That's not me.
See, I think it's just crazy. I just find it crazy, and I guess because I'm wired different or cut from a different cloth, that if you break up with someone, then you want to go and show all their, intimate pictures or sexual pictures. Like, I've had women that I've dealt with in the past that have blatantly betrayed me, but their pictures are still private.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, so,
yeah.
some people aren't like that, right? There's some of these dudes, they're like kids, vindictive kids.
Yes. They don't have what they call emotional maturity. Because I was looking that up. When he argues like a kid. And I used to be scared. It's for like a lot. That's why I have so many issues like with dating and moving on. And I keep saying I'm going to go see counseling and stuff. However, but like looking at intimacy and looking like all the trauma I experienced, it does make you feel like, oh, you can't move on. You can't be intimate with anybody else because of what you experienced. Like, damn, I really opened myself up and all I did was provide ammo. I was literally sleeping with the enemy. Like, I didn't know all of this was going to happen.
Yeah, I said that at the beginning of the show, whereas some people can't get into intimacy because of their past trauma. But also, too, in yours, obviously, you want to get healing. Some people don't want to. Like, some people want to stay that way because healing would be so different outside of the norm because of the trauma that they've experienced for so many years. Because the trauma is their normal, and healing would be completely different, and they're not ready for that.
Lena, let me ask you a question. Have you gone to therapy? Have you tried to? Because sometimes we need therapy to deal with the people that we've dealt with and have traumatized us. It's not even our own personal trauma. Sometimes other people have traumatized us. Have you?
I was thinking about going through therapy because, like, when it happened, it was during the pandemic, and like the official breakup was like 2021, and I looked back and I just realized, like, damn, do I really want to open up to a therapist? And like, it's so much. I'm not gonna put my business out there, but if I unpack what I went through, it was like a downward spiral. Like, it was okay. Like, I had red flags. I have to admit, it was like part of my problem, my fault. I had red flags, but I kind of ignored them, and I had some big ones. And I thought, we can move past this. And because in the beginning it was so great, so love bomb. He's everything I want. He's intelligent. He's a computer math nerd. He's good looking and tall. He speaks Spanish. He was everything, girl. And then,
yeah, but Lena, he's everything you want, but are you everything he needs?
I agree.
You see what I'm saying? You gotta be the right one.
I wasn't. And then his thing was this, and I thought, that should tell you something that's weird. Like, Lena, why don't you understand that that's not normal and weird? Like, he would wait for something or don't like, and I'd be like, well, I can correct it. He'd be like, no, because that's how you really felt, or that's what you really did. And he was like, I want it to be authentic. And I'm like, this is one of the problems. He didn't communicate with me that when we're talking, that I should only talk to him, don't talk to other guys. Not just before he took me off the market. We were just dating. Like, if I go out with him for a meal that one time, I should not talk to any other guy after that. I didn't know that. So he was offended by that. So when we got together, he said he cheated because of that reason. He's like, I feel like I need you. Right. But then I found out, I look back, he was with somebody when I met him and I didn't even know. It's like, well, if you was with somebody when I met you, you were lying about her, and I kind of pick on like something's not right. Why couldn't I kept going on? So you wanted me to be faithful and just talk to you while you have a whole girlfriend. You're trying to break it off with her to be with me, and I don't even know this till later, after we got together. And so that was weird. You should have communicated. Huh?
Most men are not going to communicate that with you. They were a manipulator, and he wanted his cake, and he wanted to eat it too. I can keep it real with y'all and tell you, my guy says he don't exercise options. So he told me, so if you have a roster out there or whatever you're doing, if you want to talk to me, you got to drop all of them.
Right,
now, and that's what he gave me the option. He talked to me. I have to trust that he's doing the same. You know what I'm saying? It's just, I don't know. I mean, yes, it's complicated, but Lena, you have to watch the show that me and Gary did and Angry Man was on that says the importance of therapy. It's not just to be able to be with other people, but it's for you to become a better, because therapy will teach you healthy coping skills. Therapy will teach you how to effectively communicate. Therapy will teach you exercises and things that you can better do. Like, there are things that I apply to this day. Like, when I find myself getting into that red zone, I count to 10, and I'll remove myself from situations that make me feel uncomfortable. Before the old Grace, somebody has an echo. I remove myself from situations that makes me feel uncomfortable. I have an exit plan. I've learned to take 24-hour cooling periods time, because I don't want to say or do anything that I may regret. You know what I'm saying? So I would really suggest that you go, not just to be with other people, but she says she'll be right back. What did you want to say, Gary?
What I picked up on what she said is the red flags. And in our past shows, what I've spoken about red flags. A lot of women deliberately ignore the red flags in the beginning. And that's what she just said. That's one of the things that she just said. The red flags are there for a reason, right? Sometimes they may be red flags, or sometimes they may be bright red lights flashing. Hey, listen, stop, right? But because she felt he's everything she wanted, she ignored the red flags, and a lot of women do that. But the red flags are there for a reason, right?
Yeah, but Gary, it's not just women. A lot of men ignore red flags too, but they're so overwhelmed by the beauty of the woman or how good the box is that they ignore the red flags too.
Well, I'll tell you this with men. Men know. Men more times than not. If even if she's pretty, or however she is, most men, hear me, most men know that, okay, if he's going to go deal with her, this is how she is. He's not going into the situation thinking that, oh, she's going to be my girlfriend or my wife or whatever. So most men are aware of what the situation is, whereas women are not. Women just they're going to, the red flags are going to be there, and they're going to ignore it. And that's one of the ways where men are wired differently than women,
Okay. I mean, I would have to agree with you. And again, to all my ladies out there,
even if, let me just also say this, even if she is, even if she is the slut of the neighborhood or dick sucking Susie, and he wants to deal with her, he knows. More times than not, he knows. Right? He knows. Maybe he's not telling his friends. Right? Maybe he's not telling his friends. Like, I know a dude that had kids with a woman like that, right? So, but he knows. Women will see the red flags and think, oh, I could fix him, or he's everything I want, and all this stuff with that. And then when it falls apart later, you wonder why. Whereas men more times than not know. They know what they're dealing with.
I hear you. I mean, I hear you. When I feel like I see a red flag, I address it right away. Are you really like this, or am I misinterpreting the way you're acting? And we'll talk about it.
That's how it should.
He has told me that it takes a strong man to be with me. He told me straight up. He's like, you can no weak man be with you, Grace, because you're a handful. You're a lot of work.
Okay.
Right? You got two big hands. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. But the fact that he voiced it and said it to me, I sat in it. I said, well, how can I be less, less of this and more of that? But most women are not willing to be open-minded and to be mindful of things. You
Nope.
know what I'm saying? And that's what we have to do. And okay, let me not just say women, let's just say people, because I don't want to box this in and then now be accused of being a sexist or whatever. Humans. If a person is telling you something about yourself and you value that person, you value their feedback, then, sit your ass down and listen. Because a lot of people are on the outside looking in. And maybe they see something that you don't. And I get it. When we're young and dumb and we just think we the shit and we think we're perfect. But as time goes on and we start realizing, well, why can't I keep people around? Why this and why that? Again, if you guys realize, one of my major emojis is a mirror. Sometimes you got to look at the mirror and look within yourself. You may be the problem. It's not always other people. You got to admit sometimes that you're the problem.
People ain't ready for that.
Well, then they're going to buy a dog and die alone. You know what I'm saying? They're going to be at the cigar bars smoking cigars, trying to holler at the young girls and whatever. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. We have to always try to keep growing and evolving and becoming better. What can you do today better that you didn't do yesterday? What can you do better next month? Today's November. How are you going to make November better than October? Yes, I get it. We're all going through a lot. There's a lot of fuckery out there in this new world that we live in. But you know what? As you guys are starting to get to know me, that I am a God-fearing, loving woman. If you just embrace God in your life, I trust me, a lot of things will turn around for you. So with that being said, now let's talk about the impact of intimacy. Again, intimacy is essential in a relationship because it forms a basis for connection, Gary, communication. It ensures that each person gets the care and comfort that they need from their other significant. Effects include, let's see, it increases sexual desire. Research has found that in a long-term romantic relationship, couples that experience more emotional intimacy can also experience higher levels of sexual desire and sexual activity. Greater relationship satisfaction. Couples with greater intimacy tend to be more satisfied in their relationships. Again, this is why I'm so big about happy spouse, happy house. It's not just about us women, ladies. The husband has a right to be happy in his marriage too. What the fuck? I just don't get it. How all these women can walk around and talk about, and when I hear a man say it, happy wife, happy life, bro, you're a simp. I have no respect for you because you're not even thinking about your happiness. It's all about her. 10 years down the road, she's going to take half of everything. And why are you not happy? Why are you not doing the things that you used to do when you was hanging out with your boys? You're entitled to go out with your boys. You're entitled to go hang out as long as you keep it respectful and keep the lines of communication open. I mean, come on, ladies. You gotta allow your other half to decompress and have an outlet. Again, as long as it's respectful and the lines of communication are open. The impact of good intimacy in a relationship gives you better physical health. People in intimate relationships tend to have better physical well-being. One study found that being in a happy relationship influenced health to the same magnitude as diet and exercise and lowered the risk of chronic illness and death. That's why you see a lot of men miserable, walking around stressed out, because they're so busy trying to make their wife happy and their life happy, but they forget about themselves. No, it can't be that way. It's not all about that other person all the time. You got to make yourself happy too. Again, let me put that disclaimer in a respectful and a line of communications open. You can't just, I'm going out with the boys tonight. That's not going to go well. If you let her know on a Wednesday night, hey, me and the boys are thinking about going out this weekend. We're going to do this, woo, woo, woo. Okay, you know what I'm saying? That's all good. But when it's impromptus like that, and stuff like that. Wally said he's dropping off. Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate you. We gotta have our own individualities, but then again, bring it together with intimacy. Improved mental health. Having close, intimate relationship is also pivotal for mental health. These connections provide social support that is imperative for the well-being, and it can also combat feelings of loneliness and help the people better manage the stress they are experiencing in life. Again, this is how important intimacy is. And I'm going to tell you guys a story. You guys probably heard it before, but I think this is a perfect story to tell you guys on an example of intimacy. I had a coworker, and I used to sit next to her in the cubicle, and she had been married for years. But these two used to interact with each other on the phone, through texts, or just listening to them interact like they just got married last week, that they were still in their honeymoon stage, but they had been married. Now, don't get me wrong, they had their ups and downs. And I asked her one day, how do you keep your marriage the way it is? And you know what she told me, guys? She said, we make it a point to take a shower every morning together. Doesn't mean we're going to have sex, but we say our prayers, we shower together, and we start off our day with just 10-15 minutes of no disturbance, just us two. We were the only two people in the world, and in that hot shower. I'm like, wow. And I'm bringing that up because it's important to have rituals with your other half. It's important to connect. It's important to go out and go have fun, go to comedy shows, go to church together. I mean, it is imperative, guys, because then you're going to be the one on the show Cheaters talking about, why did you do this to me? That's why, because you're never home. We never do anything. The other person was giving me the attention that you should have gotten. You know that saying, where you don't do, the next one will? You know what I'm saying? I'm sure Lena, Lena has a boyfriend. She got 10 other guys in her DMs trying to holler at her. Same with me. Same with Gary. What you won't do, the next person will. Does it make it right? Absolutely not. But you got to nourish the relationship. You got to give it intimacy. You can't work 20 hours a day, 6 days a week, then sleep your only day off and expect that other person to be okay. You're leaving them too much. You're leaving them open too much to do other things. And what do you have to say about that, Gary?
A relationship takes work. I mean, especially when for those relationships that make it into marriage, it takes work, right? It takes work.
Every day.
Some people feel that once they get married, then they've arrived, right? They don't got to do anything. And I've heard a few women say that. I've heard a few men actually say that, where once they're married, they've arrived, so they don't got to do anything because they've reached the finish line, or they reached the goal line, right? Whereas when you're in a marriage, it takes work every day, right? To keep it spicy, to keep it interesting, to keep it warm, to keep it safe. All of those great things, it takes work. So the excuse of, I work, 20 hours a day, stuff like that. I had a friend that it wasn't until after the divorce, she was like, well, yeah, it was my fault because, I was taking care of the kids and didn't give my husband any time at night when I would turn out, we'd go to bed and I turned my back to him. So it's like, I mean, and you were doing that for how long? And you expected him to be okay? Right. So
Exactly.
I think that it doesn't make it right, but real things happen, right? Real things happen. So, and I think that it's important to be able to find the balance, right? And you said this, you mentioned it earlier in the show. Now, look, finding balance is not easy. It's not, it doesn't come over. It's gonna. That's work too. You got to work at it, right? And if you have the right partner, then y'all work at it together. That's why you're in a relationship, right? You work at it together. But we don't get that. We don't, we don't get these things nowadays.
You're right. You're right. And I mean, I asked a couple that was married over 40 years. I asked the husband, I said, what's the secret to your 40-year marriage? And he looked at me and said, Grace, you want to know the truth? I said, of course. He's like, I wake up every day thinking of how I can make my wife happy. But I don't forget about myself either. I'm like, wow. You know what I'm saying? And marriage is about service and duty. Okay? The real type of marriage. I remember my dad saying to my brother one day, he was like, it's easy to get a girl, but the question is, can you keep her? Guys, the real work starts once you get married. Getting married is easy, the wedding, the reception, the honeymoon, but it's staying married. And nowadays we have microwave marriages. Nobody wants to put the work in. Why? Because we have too many options. We have too many choices. Nobody wants to do the hard work because it does take work. We do go through our rough patches. We go through our dry spells. We get sick. We have to take medication that changes our libido. What are you going to do then? God forbid your better half gets into a car accident and now they're in a wheelchair. What are we going to do? And these are discussions that need to happen. Not when they happen, before they happen.
Yeah, well, you got a lot of people getting married for all the wrong reasons. Some because it looks good, because they like the optics of the nice wedding, the ring, the dress, all the nice, wonderful optics that makes great pictures. There's the idea of being married, but not really wanting to put in the work that comes after, right? It's not. And
then we change as people.
Yeah.
Another thing, Gary, is that we change as people. I'm not. My birthday's next Tuesday. I'll be 49, and my last year in my 40s. I was definitely not the same person at 39. I don't like the same things that I did at 39 or what I like now. So we're constantly evolving, and we have to evolve and make adjustments accordingly. Well, you've changed. Of course I've changed. I'm not supposed to say the same. Are you going to change with me? Or are you going to stay stagnant and still be the same, It's are we evolving, but are we changing for the better? I mean, you got to be somebody Scottie Pippen to your Michael Jordan. Teamwork makes the dream work. Your taste buds change. Your music may change. I mean, your style of clothes may change. Because as we get older, things get different. We cannot expect to be the same person. But we have to keep it spicy. We have to keep the communication lines open. We have to keep date nights. We have to keep, and I'm telling y'all, women, holding out on the box on a man is only going to punish you. Because a man can only hold on for so long. You expect that man gave up his little black book, gave up all his other options to marry you. And now you have the audacity to hold out on the box? And then you're going to turn around and say, why? Why did you do this to me? You ain't getting me box in 3 years. I mean, come on. If you understood how a man is built and wired, they need that. Guys, go back and watch my shows, because me and Gary, we talk about all of this. The importance, being sexual compatible. It's all it all wraps up into a beautiful gift with a bow because it all makes sense. What did you want to say, Lena?
Oh, I was just saying, you and Gary were talking about this? That's no.
Lena, you are on some shit tonight. I don't know what you got going on, but we're gonna leave it alone. But I mean, I could have dived so much deeper into this, but I have to let you guys do some of the research too, and really learn about this. So
Well,
Gary, we're gonna go ahead, Lena.
I'm just saying that you ain't giving boxing 3 years. He cheating. Like,
Well, but there's some women that do that. I spoke to an attorney, and he told me, Grace, there's some women that stop giving up the box after the honeymoon. They thought, oh, I got the man now. I don't. What? Are
they
you
was
serious?
obsessive. I could not, like, if I love someone, I just could not, like, deny them. Like, what? At 3 years, I could see it's times you're gonna be tired, your body gives out, or something like that. But 3 years, I would question and be like,
Even
yeah,
then,
that's
other parts work.
you still be sleeping. I'll still be sleeping. I'll be like, look, you can go, but I'll be asleep.
I hear you.
You know, a good friend
I
of
hear
mine
you,
is
Lena. So no, go
a
ahead, Gary.
good friend of mine is a top divorce attorney, and the shit that she tells me, oh man, oh man. So yeah, you'll be surprised. You'll definitely be surprised at what some of these women do, and some try to get away with and stuff like that. You know, and
And
some of
think
these
that's
guys,
cute.
and there's some of these guys who bend over backwards thinking that everything is great, and then she turns around and does some fuckery and want to take half. So yeah, it's crazy out there. Um, so I know we're winding down now, so I guess you want to get my final thoughts.
Yep, your final thoughts, your takeaway from this conversation, and then of course let people know where we can find you.
So my final thoughts on this basically is one. I mean, uh, we probably could do two other shows on this intimacy topic because this is very
Mm-hmm.
deep. This is, something that people really need to understand, right? Because intimacy is definitely is for those of us that want to have great romantic relationships or healthy romantic relationships, intimacy is a must. You have to understand that. For those that want to have some good friendships, um, intimacy is definitely a must. Understanding and being very genuine. Not only you being genuine, but the person that you're dealing with being very genuine. Um, I just want to say that all of this starts with communication, right? Especially for those that are looking to get into a romantic relationship. It starts with effective communication, and I like to say having real conversations. A lot of people don't do that. If you don't have the real conversations, none of this shit is going to happen, right? You can't
Uh-huh.
expect, all these nice, wonderful things to happen or develop if you don't take the time out to have the real conversations to get to learn and understand each other. And a lot of people, they don't do that out there, right? So I think once that starts to happen, then I think that could, that'll help some of these relationships become better and healthier and definitely help intimacy. Um, I'm Gary D from Boardwalk Global Media. I co-host with Grace here on Thursday nights. Boardwalk Global Media. You can catch us on all the different platforms. We've been on a hiatus for quite a while, but as soon as we have a date to come back, I'll let everybody know. You can catch us on YouTube. You can catch us on Facebook under Boardwalk Global Media. You can catch us under The Real Discussion also, which is the main podcast that I co-host. And again, Grace, thanks for having me. And again, this is a wonderful topic, and you know, this could easily be 2 or 3 more
right?
shows.
I know. When I looked at all that research, I was like, ooh, I just gotta, pick out the bits and pieces that are really important. So, Lena, give me your takeaway from this conversation, your final thoughts.
Oh, I enjoyed it. I like the different layers and levels of intimacy you can experience. I like how we went over the positive and negatives, the examples. Like you said, I would like to see another stream on this. It was really good. One of your better shows for sure.
Oh, thank you. Well, maybe I might have to because, a lot of people don't even know how to be intimate, let alone what is intimacy. So I might have to do
That,
that, Gary. You know, I might have to do that. Okay, guys. Well, the first thing I
well,
want to say is Lena, I want to thank you for your participation. And I just want to say to you that I appreciate your vulnerability here on the show because I know it's not easy for you to open up and tell us private things about you, but you always seem to bring up good examples of your real life when we bring up conversations, and it just seals it. And I want to thank you for that and your vulnerability. I really appreciate that. Gary, as
You're
usual,
welcome.
thank you for coming. I appreciate you coming and co-hosting with me. You're one of my day oneers. I really appreciate it. The JVJ Network, want to give you a shout out for giving me the opportunity to always be here on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And everybody that came and participated, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. So let me get into it now and what my final thoughts and my takeaway of this conversation tonight. So with that being said, whether you've just started dating or you've been together for years and years, intimacy plays a vital role in your relationship. It takes time if your relationship is still new, but it's worth the work that it takes to go through new experiences together. Our relationship must be watered, it must be nourished and attended to. If it isn't, then we will all know the end results. Period. So, guys, I hope that you learned something tonight. I hope you had some takeaways on this conversation. Don't forget that it's important to be intimate with your partner. It's important to show intimacy, be intimate, and have intimacy. So, without any further ado, you guys can find me here on Embrace the Grace. I'm here every night on the JVJ Network on Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Braxton, you came in on the tail end, but I still appreciate you coming in. Press that like button if you don't mind. I appreciate you. You can watch the replay, but you can also find me on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and WhatsApp. I'm all over. My email address is there available to you guys. I'm very easy to be accessible to. Please, guys, my embracers who have embraced me, thank you very much. Keep bringing me those videos and those topics you want me to touch on. I got a lot, so you guys are giving me a lot of content. I got some of my own, my colleagues that I work with, and other podcasters bringing some great topics. But I really appreciate y'all. Thank you so much, and I appreciate it. You guys are awesome, and thank you for the constant support. I really do appreciate you guys. And let me just go and do this little outro, and we should be good. You know who made it.